Hello, probers!
Howdy!
Welcome to But It Was Aliens, the extraterrestrial comedy podcast brought to you by two former MIBs who decided that you need to know the truth about the extraterrestrials. I'm your host this week, the king of the street grannies, the prince with the perfect peach, and the bestest of best friends, Granny Moonwalker. And opposite me, as always, is the giant one, the grey one, the bearded one. Put your hands together for the vanilla latte diva himself, Sally the Grey, aka Kev in the Grey.
I'm in the grey now. I'm not going to dilly-dally too much at the start of the episode, but you've put a picture of what I assume is a vanilla latte with whipped cream and sprinkles in the research notes.
Yep.
And I'm salivating, son. Oh my gosh, that looks so good. I'm not even joking. Wow.
Does look good, I'm not going to lie.
Go on, get cracking, because I'm just going to stare at that all day.
Want to go for coffee after this?
Yes.
Today, we're heading somewhere we've never been before. The Saruman Islands. Saruman!
You've put an image of Saruman from Lord of the Rings in the research notes. That's exactly where my mind went. I was thinking, did he have an island? Forgetting that Lord of the Rings is not a real thing.
Okay. My mistake. We're going to the Solomon Islands.
That's no fun.
Marius Boirayon moved here when he retired and then moved to a smaller island within the island known as
Gandalf Island.
Guadalcanal,
Glad this is your episode. Guadalao. Oh, gosh.
where he married a local woman by the name of Miriam.
That's a bit easier.
It wasn't long before he began to hear strange tales from the locals. Tales of giant creatures, some as tall as a baby greybeard, 15 feet tall, and with a hunger for human flesh.
What part of the human flesh?
What part would a baby greybeard go for?
Probably a meaty bit. Like a thigh, perhaps.
Thighs. Hunger for thighs.
Tits and thighs. Meaty bits.
These creatures were said to inhabit the tropical forests of the islands, in caves and hidden layers in the woodlands.
I've just scrolled back to look at that latte again.
These cave systems are said to run throughout the entire mountain range of the island. And that is long. It is said that you could walk from one end of the island to the other without seeing the light of day. Honorary mole person for the day.
Mole people. Tastes like mole. Can you eat a
Tastes
mole?
like mole? I don't know. Mole burgers. Ooh.
I mean, they're not the biggest creatures.
No, but quite a lot of meat, I would assume.
I really don't know. The Wombles moles?
No, they live above ground.
That doesn't mean they're not moles. It's a cartoon.
That is true. I really don't know. Brain's gone.
Your mind just goes blank.
I'm picturing them now. And the song's stuck in my head now. Bastard.
We're going to have to check it quickly.
Underground,
Yes.
overground,
Wombles.
wombling free. The Wombles of Wimbledon.
So the Wombles
Common
are
are we.
burrowing animals with mole claws. So I don't think they're actually...
So are they actually moles? They have mole claws, but they're not necessarily moles.
The Wombles are fictional, pointy-nosed, furry creatures. So they're moles then.
They're
Be
not.
straight with us. What? Is it a secret?
They're fictional creatures with mole hands.
So I guess Wombles are Wombles then. I always thought they were moles.
Get a...
I mean, as you said, they live above ground. Or do they?
Yes, they do.
Oh, gosh knows.
Because one of them has like a blue coat and a red hat and glasses and grey hair.
I've just seen a description of the BBC children's television series where they were portrayed as having mole-like claws, hedgehog-like snouts, and human-like feet. They're cryptids.
Oh,
we should be hunting these bastards.
Is an episode. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to Wimbledon.
Wombledon.
We're not playing tennis.
Is that a mole person in the research notes? I didn't even clock that.
Mole
Looks like a Goomba from Mario. Like the movie.
But look at their moly hands.
Movie with lizard hands.
Their moly hands. In their little mole hole.
Yeah, I've completely forgot what we just covered. So there are cave systems, was it?
Yep. Cave systems with giant greybeards that are eating the fleshy parts of humans, thighs and tits.
I'm pretty sure that's all
vanilla
the bit we added
lattes
rather than the actual facts.
Washed down with vanilla lattes.
Oh, God.
As well as taking people to eat, Marius was also told that sometimes women were adult napped by creatures so that they could breed with them to create their offspring and keep the tall species going.
What?
According to legend, these giants, these tools, these Kevins were part of a tribe that went on to split into different factions, and these factions would go on to war with others from time to time too.
This is like the fabled cat war from Red Dwarf. Wow, how am I looking? I'm looking nice. Did Marius have a brother called Luigius?
Maybe
That's
in another dimension.
That's quite literally all I've got to offer for that last section. We haven't described what these creatures look like other than being tall, have we?
Kevins.
Well, so they're handsome, is what you're saying. Stunningly handsome.
Feeding on thighs and tits.
The concept of there being tunnels underneath an island, there could be tunnels underneath us everywhere that we go and we'd have no idea.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how did the sewer get down there? There must be a tunnel to put it in. I've seen archaeological digs in places before whereby they've dug beneath the surface level and found that what's happened over generation and generation is that humans just basically built on top of themselves. So the ground level goes down really low and you can go back like thousands of years that way. There could be a supermarket below your feet.
If we are ever in a situation where we have to hole up somewhere, extraterrestrial towers it is.
We going down. Extraterrestrial basement.
Anywhere we have to mole up.
This is completely off topic, but you know the concept of bomb shelters, facilities underground.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that going to get you caved in? I was just thinking of like the mole up suggestion and thinking that to protect yourself. It does. You're just going to get collapsed in and have your entrance blocked off potentially.
I don't know because I don't know the inner workings of how they created them. But my old primary school had a bomb shelter.
Yeah.
And you could see like the top of it, and it was known as the castle.
When I was in primary school, I can remember going on a field trip to another primary school to see the bomb shelter in their grounds. That might have been your school.
Might have been. Was it right next to our high school?
I honestly don't remember. I was really young, like 6, 7.
Because, yeah, it was right next to our high school.
Seemed like it was another country when I was that age.
Yeah, true. Went from, I remember going on a school trip and it felt like ages away. Now, if I was to drive to where we went, it would take me about 45 minutes.
Mm-hmm. So, giant tall things.
Giant tall things. Giant Kevins. Tits and thighs. Not only did the people of the Solomon Islands have to deal with the Kevins, but they had to deal with something equally frightening, the legendary dragon snake.
I'd argue that a civilization is potentially more frightening than one snake, but I'll hold that thought until I find out what this snake does.
Now, I typed in dragon snake just to get a picture for reference, and there is actually something called a dragon snake, which is this. So I put it in.
It's got scales, yeah.
Looks kind
I
of
suppose
cool.
all snakes have scales, but it's got kind of sticky out scales.
Like dragon scales.
Yeah.
I'd have that as a pet.
I
Unless it's
wouldn't,
poisonous.
because any animal like that, I know that if you turn your back on them, give them half chance, they're going to eat you.
So I will never turn my back.
But
I'll
I
always
want
walk
a pet that
backwards
wants
out
to
of a room.
be my pet. I don't want something that's there waiting for a chance to eat me.
Yeah. Keep you on your toes.
I don't want to be kept on my toes. I want to chill. I want to relax. Got a hard life. Need to put my feet up.
It's a hard knock life for Kev. Marius,
Hard knock life for Jay-Z.
Marius himself would go on to have an encounter with this mythical creature.
Did he take his brother?
Nexus magazine were the ones
Written by Wade Barrett, Daniel Bryan, Heath Slater.
were the ones that managed to get the exclusive story from Marius. Marius had become friends with a local named Joseph. Both of them were keen fishermen.
Were they good?
They were keen fishermen. On the night in question, Marius, along with his wife Miriam, accompanied Joseph, as well as another local named Cece, to the coast so he could do some night spearfishing.
That strikes me as the worst time of day to do that.
Although Marius simply took his rod to do some light fishing, not spear fishing. As Marius and Cece were cleaning some of the fish that they had caught, Joseph emerged from the water like a L'Oreal advert, because he was worth it. His spear was full of fish.
What?
And he was ready to add them to the pile. As Cece and Marius were taking the fish from the spear, Joseph yelled, "There! There! The dragon snake! Oh!"
Not really how I imagine Joseph sounding. Kind of old-timey, but
I have no reference to what someone from the Solomon Islands would sound like, so...
it's probably safer not to impersonate, to be fair.
Marius turned to where Joseph was pointing. A very bright white object was flying slowly over the water. Not quite believing what he was seeing, Marius called out to Miriam and asked her to pass him the binoculars. Marius estimated that the object was approximately 60 feet across and appeared to make no noise whatsoever. Suddenly, it dove into the sea and disappeared. Joseph, who claimed to have seen these objects many times, said that if they waited around 10 minutes, the object would emerge out of the water. Sure enough, it did just that. And this time, it was glowing twice as bright as when it went in. They continued to watch the object as it eventually set off in the direction that it arrived, disappearing into the distance a short time later. After it was out of sight, the group returned to Marius's home, with the host eager to learn all that Joseph and Cece knew of this dragon snake. They spoke for hours and they made it known to Marius that this wouldn't be his last time seeing it. Although named the dragon snake, to Marius, the object seemed much more mechanical to him than biological.
What? Mechanical?
Mechanical.
So, just to clarify a couple of details, when you said it was floating over the water, do you mean literally or above the water, on the surface, or flying in the air?
Not quite sure.
Okay, did it have wings?
No.
Or was it basically a long, bendy torpedo?
Not sure.
Okay. I'd just like to clarify a couple of details. 'Cause
Clarify away.
I was wondering, it's called dragon snake, but if it looks like a dragon and it flies, there's not really much snake about it. Shouldn't it be dragon
You also have to take into context
Do I?
in Asian
Why are you pointing your
mythology,
beer at me so aggressively? Gonna bottle me.
a dragon doesn't look like the Western dragon.
Well, no, but they still have
It's
wings.
more like a serpent. Not necessarily. No, they don't.
I've never seen a dragon flying without wings.
Asian dragons don't have wings.
I've seen them in like the parades with people controlling the wings via big long sticks.
Yeah.
You couldn't have seen every
They're like
single
snakes
dragon
with legs.
ever in a parade. And I'll also just throw this out there. Those aren't real dragons.
Beg your pardon.
You throw the bottle at me. Don't be so stupid. But that's all kind of put to one side if this thing is mechanical and then it potentially could fly without wings.
I'm flying without wings.
60 feet.
Is that Robbie? What's his fucking name?
Westlife, isn't it?
I don't fucking know.
You sang it.
That doesn't mean I know it.
It's probably a cover version. Did it do anything else, or is that
Flying
the
without
entire...
wings. If you don't know the lyrics, sounds like it goes into Angels by Robbie Twatface. So that's why I wasn't sure if it was the same song or if I've merged two together.
Did you know that he's one of our biggest fans? He loves aliens.
He does.
Didn't he pop up in like 2 different episodes?
He did. Still can't remember his name other than Robbie.
Williams.
Oh, there you go. Sorry, what were you saying before I got sidetracked by Robbie Williams?
I don't know, because now I've got sidetracked.
Damn you, Robbie Williams.
Damn you! Is that the entire tale? Or was there any abduction going on?
I mean, we've still got more to go.
Okay. I was wondering whether it got more like UFO-like, alien-like, I guess, flying saucer-like, whether it did anything characteristic of things we've covered previously.
Okay. Many of the locals were completely unfamiliar with the term UFO, or what the modern world's general perception of them was. Some of the legends and accounts of encounters with these dragon snakes, for example, spoke of them spitting or breathing fire. Something that Marius contemplated was in fact some kind of laser beam, or even the product of some kind of advanced propulsion system.
Could be a plane.
Could be a bird. According to local legends, these dragon snakes were said to reside in caves in the dense woodlands of the forest, as well as sightings of these strange objects. There were many accounts of them attacking fishing boats and even targeting locals themselves. The more Marius learned, the more tales he heard that sounded to him very much like cases of alien abduction. One gruesome encounter was told to Marius by Joseph and involved another fisherman who had been left severely hurt following an encounter with a dragon snake. This anonymous fisherman was fishing at around 3 a.m. when he saw the glowing object flying through the air. He then began to flash his torch in the direction of the object. This caught the attention of it, as the dragon snake headed in his direction and was directly over the top of him in an instant. The fisherman was immediately panicked and then turned the boat's engine on and set off away from the object. But to his horror, it followed him.
Dun, dun, dun.
He began to zigzag on the water in an attempt to throw it off, but it continued to chase him.
Uh-oh.
As the beach was within sight, the dragon snake fired some sort of light at him, partially hitting him. He eventually made it to the beach, leapt out of the boat, and ran into the overgrowth and vegetation nearby.
Pegged it.
The dragon snake remained close behind him, keeping up the pursuit, before deciding to give up. The fisherman had sustained serious burns to various parts of his body,
Ooh.
possibly caused by the beam of light aimed towards him by the object.
Didn't see that coming.
Neither did he. Ho ho ho!
I'd argue that he did.
No, he was legging it. There were other cases that Marius learned of that happened while he was living there, including a pair of Catholic nuns who, according to a radio report, had seemingly gone missing whilst walking on a quiet road just outside the main village. This is a location where many other people, at least according to local legend, had gone missing amid sightings of dragon snakes. During Marius's investigations of the sightings and encounters with dragon snakes, he learned from a local chief that they had been seen leaving and entering a lake at the base of a waterfall on one of the mountains in the forest. Marius and Joseph went to check this spot out. The journey would take 3 days, but they eventually came to the waterfall and the lake at the base of it. They quickly settled upon a location that concealed their presence, and from there, they had a clear view of the lake and the waterfall dropping into it. And they were determined to witness the arrival of the dragon snake up close. Several hours would pass, but they were determined, and at around 9:45 p.m, they saw a glow in the water of the lake, alerting them that the dragon snake's appearance was imminent. Eventually, the light surfaced and moved to the edge of the lake and flew slowly northwards down the mountain range at a 45-degree angle, continuing along the length of the valley and after a minute or so disappearing out of sight. At this point, Marius was almost certain that the dragon snake was a UFO. The pair waited for around 2 hours for the object to return. However, just before midnight, they saw another glow from the water, and another dragon snake appeared. This object went the opposite way to the first, heading south along the valley, before it too disappeared out of sight. Just over 2 hours later, at around 2:30 in the morning, they witnessed one of these objects return and slowly descend into the water.
Oh, that's interesting.
Marius's investigation and research also pointed him to Malaysia, and a reef here appeared to be another entrance and exit point for the UFOs. The area was described by Marius as a bottomless circular reef, where UFOs can be seen going in and out virtually every night.
Ooh.
Marius believes that this giant, deep, watery hole was created by a huge spaceship that hovered above it and shot a big laser into the crust of the Earth.
He's got no evidence for that statement.
And about 4 miles directly inland from the circular reef entrance is a lake. And would you believe it, Greybeard? It's the same damn lake where UFOs are seen entering and leaving. Is there a connection? A tunnel, perhaps? Or maybe even a portal?
Would you believe it? I can believe it.
Bet you by golly, wow.
Well, so I was thinking the locals could be misinterpreting planes and that kind of thing, or even military jets perhaps stationed nearby going into the water, but that was witnessed by Marius rather than locals.
Yeah, rather than him being told.
It's a bit coincidental that he's hearing these accounts and now he's suddenly seeing them all himself. Oh, Marius. Did Marius write a book?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, how did Marius' story get out? Are we going to cover that, or...?
Partially through Nexus magazine.
Oh, you did say Nexus magazine. Nexus! So when this episode started, I thought it was going to be all about a mystical snake, but it's gone quite quickly into UFO territory. What I'm struggling to unpick is whether that's what it was all along or whether Marius is changing it to fit the narrative he wants to tell. Like, is he adapting a local legend?
Yeah, I see what you mean.
But we have said before that there could be civilizations underwater.
That we have.
Submerging.
One particular night while fishing, Marius witnessed one of these curious objects submerge into the water near where the USS Chicago had sunk. As it surfaced, it was shining more brightly than before. Marius quickly raised his binoculars to his eyes.
Why is he there all the time? This is the most fortunate ufologist in existence. He's everywhere where there's something that's going to happen.
Maybe he's the chosen one.
Clearly.
He could see the lights of a ship that were clearly heading towards him. He could also tell that from its perspective, the object or the occupants guiding it could not see the ship. He could see the movement when its vision would clear and the ship would come into the mysterious object's view. And as soon as it did, it was gone. Marius was adamant that the object didn't actually go anywhere. It just vanished from sight, as if a light had been turned off. So I reckon there he was seeing like a hologram or something. One thing that Marius also puts forward is that many of the UFOs and subterranean bases are not extraterrestrial in nature and could be military tech. Although unsure exactly which military, but he does suspect the US.
Yeah, it feels more US-y. I guess your other possibilities would be Russian or Chinese would probably be the leading candidates. And I don't feel like they would necessarily be stationed in this part of the world. Too easy to be seen by
others.
By the US, I guess, yeah. And their presence. So he's not saying that it's aliens, he thinks it's military.
Yes, but he also believes that a UFO may have shot a beam to the Earth's crust and created
yes, you make a good point, sir. You make a good point. He has no factual basis for most of his statements. Does he share any photos or anything as what he's seen? Because he's seen quite a lot. You'd think at least on one occasion he'd have some sort of recording device on his person.
You would. That would be fantastic evidence. And you know what? I have such evidence in this case.
Do you?
It's just invisible.
much like Marius' sightings themselves.
So to summarise, we have the investigations of the Kevins and the Dragon Snakes by Marius. Marius moved to the Solomon Islands following retirement. He then went on to marry a local woman. Whilst living there, he started to hear tales from the locals of giants, local Kevins that would eat locals and adult nap local women to breed with them. Marius would make friends with a chap named Joseph. They would become avid fishers, and one particular night, they, Marius's wife, and a friend Cece went night spearing. Once there,
sounds dirty.
Once they were dealing with a haul, Joseph would point and shout that there was a dragon snake. They all looked on in disbelief. Once home, Marius wanted to know more, so Joseph told them everything and said that this would not be the last time that they see one. Marius would go on to see many, but to him they seemed less biological and more mechanical. During more conversations with locals, Joseph and the village chief, Marius heard about a place where the dragon snakes were said to come from. So he roped Joseph into an adventure and they camped out by a lake and would see these dragon snakes. Marius also heard of another location, a reef, and they went there too. He would indeed see another dragon snake and would find out that the first lake is only 4 miles away and would theorise that it's possible that they could be connected. And we also heard how one of these dragon snakes chased down a fisherman and hit him with a beam of light which caused several burns to the fisherman. Marius also thinks that this could be military tech instead of something extraterrestrial. So, Greybeard, the Grey, do you believe that these are instances of mythical creatures, UFOs, or military technology?
As I said, this episode has finished in a very different place to where it has started, and the several accounts don't really marry up with each other too well.
Quite jumbled.
Yeah.
Or two things
pick
meshed.
Your theory and stick to it. Are you going for a mythical snake creature? Are you going for aliens? Are you going for military tech? And if it's the latter, then why are you saying that aliens are lasering holes in the earth?
To be fair, he was only told that it was a mythical creature or a snake until he saw it with his own eyes and thought it was mechanical in nature.
We have no real evidence. If someone was hit with burns, radiation, whatever it may be, you'd want to be seeing some doctor reports, and that doesn't seem to be forthcoming. There isn't much which is forthcoming. I'm struggling to latch on to anything believable. I'm reaching. Have you got a lifeline for me? An armband?
Got an elastic band.
That's not going to stop me from drowning. Yeah. Have you seen Marius?
No.
Yeah. That's all I've got to say, really. No. I'm not saying that it was aliens. Marius doesn't feel the most trustworthy of sources. Feels like Marius is trying to make a case for funsies.
I'm not saying it's aliens either. But you said something earlier which made me change how I thought about this probe.
I did.
You did. I think he's being told stories and legends from the locals, and he's just trying to put it in a way that he understands.
Okay,
rather than thinking that, oh, they saw a dragon. Maybe it was this that they saw. And, okay, that sounds a bit far. That doesn't sound like anything I can comprehend. So maybe it was this and it's mechanical in nature, not actually anything that they think it is. So I think that's what he's done. And he may have just seen military tech. He might have just seen something normal.
Well, this is kind of what I was saying. You've got the start bit, fair enough. But then he's adding on his own experiences on the end of looking out through the binoculars and seeing holograms or whatever it was.
And also we hear nothing else about these 15-foot tall Kevins.
Yeah.
It's literally at the start and then there's nothing else about them.
He's basically put a bunch of ingredients into a sieve and sieved it out into a baking tray and thought, oh, that'll make a cake.
He's happy to go and find these dragon snakes, but doesn't want to touch the 15-foot Kevins. So we hear nothing more about them.
And you'd think if there were tunnels, again, with technology we have, that there'd be evidence out there.
Maybe even a photo. But no, we have nothing. So for me, it's not aliens.
Darn it.
Thank you for joining us for this week's probe. As always, you can find us on our socials at But It Was Aliens. That's Instagram, Facebook, and on
the Twitter!
The Twitter, disgustingly now known as X. Our Facebook group is Extraterrestrial Towers. And for less than a coffee, you can also find us on patreon.com/But It Was Aliens, where we probe much, much more outside of the realms of the extraterrestrial.
Probe around the globe.
As always, I have been the Walker of Moons, and he is the grey-bearded one. Remember, the truth is up there. #